How's it going, fight fans? It's been a busy weekend for us fight fans. Being able to go through not just the UFC, but we're also talking about a video about boxing as well. There was some boxing and interesting boxing this night, especially headlined by Teofimo Lopez going against Steve Claggett. An overwhelming favorite by Teofimo Lopez. He got the job done against a guy who just simply just walked to him and try to be able to bring the fight to him. Claggett, I will give a lot of credit. He did land a lot of good shots inside the pocket. Most of the shots did land on the arms or on the guard of Tiafimo, but he did land a nice few jabs, a nice few uppercuts, being moving Tiafimo's head back. And Tiafimo clearly just outboxed him, sang around the ring, and was able to just land the shots that he was able to land. He did hurt him, I believe, in the eighth and ninth round. And just did what he needed to be able to do to get the victory and be able to look nice in his performance. He wasn't able to get a knockdown or knockout in his fight. Obviously, this went all the 12 rounds. Was able to defend his championship and be able to show that he's able to be active and not just be stale and waiting for certain type of fights to be able to come his way. He's talking about going up to 147 and fighting against Brian Norman Jr. I believe that's his name. I've seen him fight one time in the last recent fight that he just had against a Mexican fighter. He had a nasty uppercut knockout, I believe, against him. And from what I know, he is very talented. This is the only fight I've seen of Brian Norman in my um, humble observation that I had of him, and me being honest myself. He is very talented. He's very good. He's a very good fighter. I believe, especially with Teofimo going up a weight class, it will create some problems for him, especially Teofimo's style. Teofimo is very much of a fighter that wants to either walk you down or have the fight brought to him. He's not that well of cutting off the ring and trapping boxers or more boxer type fighters into where he wants them to go. And from what I've seen against again with Norman's last fight, he definitely was in a firefight against that Mexican fighter that he knocked out. So if he's looking for that type of fight and getting a win against an undefeated fighter, it's something that he could be able to put on his record and be able to polish up for himself and look good and nice for him. Um, there's still fights that are on the table for him to be able to take. He still hasn't fight Tank Davis. I don't know if he's able to do that, especially with him moving up another weight class and Tank potentially staying at 135, 140 around that area. I don't think Tank, especially his size, is going to correlate that well for him to be able to go up in other weight classes, especially in the welterweight division. Teofimo's talking about also getting into with Terrence Crawford and getting into the big names and wanting to be able to get those fights, especially make those money fights for himself. He is shown that he is that caliber of fighter. I mean, he did beat Vasily Lomachenko. He had a great outing against Josh Taylor. Going against fighters that are shown to him that are of caliber, maybe above him, or showing more consistency of caliber of being a better fighter of him. He shows up and he shows out, but when they're lower to the means, he kind of fights to their level, fights lower at, gets himself into firefights, is not as impressive as he's able to be shown, you know what I mean? So it's very hard for him to be able to make the right adjustments and make the fights that he's wanting to be able to make, you know what I mean? Still, there's the Ryan Garcia fight there. Still hasn't fought Devin Haney. He's talked about how he would not want to fight Shakur Stevenson. Those are the big names. Those are the big names that obviously people want to be able to see him fight. Another person of the like of Isaac Cruz. There's still a lot of fights for him to be able to go through, but him moving up to 147, he's gonna be in a bigger pool of fighters. Again, him going against Brian Norman, who's a very talented fighter. Terrence Crawford, of course. Jaron Boots Ennis. Those fighters, they've been in that bigger weight class than Teofimo Lopez. And Teofimo Lopez, as talented as he is shown to be very inconsistent in his performances. And while he is very talented and has a lot of skill in his way of fighting, going against those fighters, potentially of Terrence Crawford and Jairus Buchanan, I think that is going to be too much for him. I think he definitely needs to settle into the weight. It's probably something that he's going to be able to do or want to do when he jumps into those weight classes. But also another fight that was able to happen this weekend was Jesse Bam Rodriguez against uh, Juan Francisco El Gallo Estrada. Tremendous fight, tremendous fight, but between these two guys, but more of a performance from Jesse Bam Rodriguez. I've seen him before being ranked on the top 10 pound for pound list of best boxers. I've never seen him fight before in my entire life. I've seen highlights, I've seen knockouts, and they look impressive. But while watching this fight, especially against a top dog and a big veteran like Juan Francisco Estrada, I mean, wow, what a performance. And wow, what a fighter he is. Showing that he's able to get up off the canvas, showing that he's had that toughness and heart. But Jesus Christ, this kid has skill. That gee, that's just the one thing that I came out. The skill, the technique, just perfect of a boxer, puncher, counter puncher, being able to put the pressure on Juan Francisco Estrada. It is tremendous. Now I understand why his ranking of where he has his place on the top 10 pound for pound. Maybe he needs to be even higher than that, even though he is in a smaller weight class. I mean, just dude, the man's footwork is so tremendous and so awe-inspiring. I can't just put any more superlatives for uh, Jesse Bam Rodriguez. I mean, he is for sure going to be one of the top dogs, if not in that division, maybe in more divisions that he'll be able to have. Reminds me a lot of, or this fight did remind me a lot of Nonito Donaire and Naoya Inoue, where Juan Francisco Estrada did knock Jesse Bam Rodriguez down, did show that he had heart, did show that he wanted to be able to come out on top, especially being the older fighter, the more veteran, the more experienced fighter in the fight, especially the bigger name at the lower weight division. And it was just the coming of the age of Jesse Rodriguez and him showing that he is that type of fighter that needs to be able to be shown everywhere, be promoted everywhere, and especially in the division that he is very hard, especially for the lower weight classes. They don't have the same privileges as a heavyweight or a welterweight or a middleweight. They don't really rake in that much revenue, especially. But once you have a big name like that, especially like a Chocolatito or again a Juan Francisco Estrada, I believe he did. If I'm not correct, he did fight Sonny Edwards, who was undefeated. He defeated him. I don't want to mix my words up, but I did believe he did fight Sorum Visai, the man that did beat Chocolatito twice. I believe they fought, and I think that he did beat him. It just shows the caliber of again, a boxer that he is. And to go back to what I was saying earlier about Nuoa Inoue, he is in a higher weight division. I believe he's in super bantamweight, which is around like 126, 130. And Jesse Bam Rodriguez is at 115, 116. I mean, if he's able to come up to that weight and to be able to battle with, that would be a tremendous fight. That would be a star-studded. Give me, give me your tickets. I'll give you all my money. Like, absolutely, I'm gonna be sitting at my seat on my couch, ready to watch this fight. That's the type of caliber of fighter that he is. That's the type of caliber of fight I really want to see from watching him just this one time. I believe that that's possibly the only guy, especially around that weight division, that could create problems for him or to be able to defeat him. And what an opponent that would be for Naoya Inoue. I mean that besides maybe Tank Davis at that lower weight class, and Inoue would need to bulk up and get up to Tank's weight division. Maybe that's the only way you would be able to see that, but I would see the other way for Jesse Bam Rodriguez. And man, what a performance he put out there. Was able to really stamp his mark in boxing and mark his new era and mark his new way of him being the cream of the crop at flyweight. I believe it's the flyweight division that he's in. And again, just proving more success with his talent that he's have. And that's the review that I have for these headliners for boxing here tonight. Great headliners. Undercards were, underwhelming. Unless you're getting a Saudi Arabia undercard, you're not really gonna get much out of the undercards for boxing for the most part. Um, Comment any perspectives or opinions that you have on these fighters or on these fights that you were able to see throughout this weekend, especially with these boxing fighters. Comment any fights that you would definitely want to see in the future with these two fighters or fighters in general. Like this video if you like this video in general and want to be able to see more of this type of content. Of course, I'm going to be able to push that out for you. And if you really do like this type of content that you're watching, be able to subscribe to this channel. You're going to be able to push out more of this type of content, whether it be fighting, especially, of course, MMA, UFC, boxing, or any type of sport that I want to be able to talk about, and you're willing to be able to give the ear that I'm able to talk to. I would greatly appreciate that. And thank you guys for watching, and peace.